We'll be discussing on the erratic power situation experienced by many Nigerians, the current heat waves we have, scarcity of the PMS, and the high cost of diesel has made the situation unbearable. So joining us on the show are three guests to discuss it from different angles. But first, let me start with Professor Sam Amadi, because this matter originated from a commission that you used to chair, the GENCOs. What caused this big power plant that collapsed, and how can we prevent it going forward?
It's actually about three things. One, having a system that is financially strong. The DISCOs make the investment, they're able to make the investment, the generators make the investment, they're all private. And the government is able to provide enough capacity for the transmission service. So the reason why we don't have power is simple. There are many inefficiencies in the system which we have not solved all these days. For example, the DISCOs may not be able to collect all the money they ought to collect, either because, as Oduntan will say, either because their tariffs are not as they want, or the consumers are not going to pay their bills, and therefore they have high losses. And secondly, they don't have the level of financing individually and as a group to finance the investment they need to improve their network, so that maybe over time they recover. On the part of government, the government policies have not been strong in terms of improving transmission, the governance of that TCN. So yes, it might be right to say privatize TCN. It might be right to say break the transmission network, have southwest or western, northern, eastern, so that you'll be able to manage them more efficiently. So the question here are two-pronged. One is about efficiency. Can you create an efficient system? Two, financing. Do you have a formula for making sure that the DISCOs, those who bought these assets, can get money? They don't have that kind of money.
Otunba, are you there?
Good morning, I can hear you.
Good morning. Okay, so Professor Amadi said something about two key things. You don't have DISCOs are not well funded, and secondly, inefficiency. Let's start with the inefficiency part. Why does it seem as though the DISCOs are inefficient at this time?
The current problem in Nigeria, as at this morning, has little or nothing to do with the DISCOs. In the last 4 weeks, there has not been light. So please, when people talk, DISCO, please, take down out of your bucket first. The reason why you have not had light, whether you're in Magodo or Sokoto or Abeokuta or Ilorin or Parakot, is a problem between generation and transmission. And they have issued a statement, they have explained. So that is going on. We are not involved in the blame game. Okay? So don't go down to when you look at the value chain, you just jump from generation straight to DISCO. Now let me talk about efficiency. Efficiency has a lot to do with cost. You cannot be talking about efficiency if the price is not right. You cannot sell bread that is worth 100 naira for 50 naira and you expect Mamamilika, the bread seller, to be efficient. She will start cutting corners. You will soon be buying your bread without nylon. So my brother is right. Efficiency is lacking. We're not having the kind of efficiency all throughout the value chain, including us, the DISCO. I've said it many times. I said we are not efficient enough, but we cannot continue to undersell the product. Even when you borrow money from any bank, even now, we cannot even borrow now, but even to borrow money anywhere, the person who is lending money to you will want to know how you're going to recoup the investment, how you're going to pay back. If the business you are doing is such that people are not paying, and I'll give you an example. As I'm talking today, we have over 300 billion naira being owed by ministries, departments, and agencies. NDA debt is very, very high. That's on the government side, though. So if government is not even paying, how do you expect a person that lives in the slum to understand the need for him or her to pay for electricity? So I agree, there's a lot of inefficiency, but that is driven by the lack of the appropriate
let me pause you for a second and let me bring in Dr. Yusuf into this conversation. Sir,
so let's talk about the economy as it's reflecting because of this power issue on the people. You saw the Vox Pop, how everybody is complaining that something has to be done. How has this affected businesses? How are we even surviving with the issue of fuel? What must government see? What data must they get to help us? And what can they even do in the immediate? Somebody said drastic measure has to be taken. Which drastic measure? Which of them?
Well, in matters like this, I think the government needs to declare a state of emergency. Because this is a very serious matter. Now, it is bad enough that we are grappling with very high inflation before this crisis. Although we have an official inflation figure of about 15.7%. But if you check the reality, many prices have jumped by 30%, 50%, even 100%.
Yes.
And you know the implication of that for the welfare of the people, for purchasing power. A situation where nominal incomes are not growing and prices are growing, that means that your real income is collapsing. And that has very serious implications for poverty. It has very serious implications even for the social environment. If you look at the whole budgetary process, there are so many areas in which savings can be made.
Yes.
Each time we talk about deficit, debt, and all of that, the government is always talking about how to get more revenue. What is happening to how to cut expenditure?
Exactly.
This is just an example of it.
Let's leave expenditure cutting first. We need infrastructure in gas. And we get to cook for roads. Can we raise these funds, the Euro bonds and all of that, and target providing the infrastructure so that we can get the gas to the plant?
And you tell them to worry like basic.
But
it's
no,
not basic now.
to pay subsidy and to build the facility
Which
for
is
gas.
better.
This woman, anytime Minister of Finance says they want to collect money, she'll be the person carrying plaque. No one collect money.
Where is carefully just
you see, that is
I have to wrap up.
Yes, I just wanted to say, if we declare a state of emergency, what would that mean?
No, it will mean that you have to find the resources.
Yes.
It's
not the nomenclature.
The resources are there. They have to find the resources to fix all these problems that the Jengos are complaining, to fix the transmission.
We have very few minutes left. Otunba, let me ask you this question very quickly, Otunba. This money that the MDAs are owing, if government finds money to pay, will it solve your problem?
It will stop a substantial part of the problem if government pays. And I have to say that government have been promising that they will pay. We have all been getting the promises. We only hope they will do that.